Most agencies don't fail because they can't get clients. They fail because their operations and fulfillment can't keep up with their growth. If you're scaling your agency and you feel like things are constantly slipping through the cracks, this is why. So in this video, I'm breaking down the 3 biggest silent killers of agency growth. These are the hidden problems that stall revenue, stress out your team, and cause unnecessary churn. But don't worry, the good news is I'm also going to show you how to fix these problems before they happen. And I'm not just talking about theory. I'm actually going to walk you through step by step inside our project management tool ClickUp to show you how we and other agencies track and fix these problems in real time. Let's dive in. The first silent killer we are going to go through in this video, there are 3 total, is broken systems that don't scale. Now, before I dive in and show you some tangible examples, I just want to mention that when an agency starts, it's totally normal for it to operate on hustle and improvising, right? The team is communicating via Slack and everyone just kind of figures things out as they go. It's very much, the hustle culture. You get it together, you prove that you can do this, you can deliver real results. But when you are going to scale to 7 to 8 figures, that approach actually becomes a liability. Reason being, few things, client onboarding can take too long, leading to churn. Projects are constantly getting delayed due to miscommunication and being disorganized. And the team is going to struggle to deliver consistent results because there's no standardized process. So everyone just flying by the seat of their pants and figuring things out as they go is no longer going to fly if you are trying to scale this thing. So with that, let's go into 3 fixes of how to fix broken systems that are not set up for scale so that you can have an agency operating system that will scale to 7 and 8 figures and beyond. So the first fix is going to be to actually map out your workflows. So client onboarding, service delivery, project management, internal processes, these should all be documented inside a project management tool. Our favorite is ClickUp, which you are looking at right now, and I'm going to show you through just a few key examples of what these super clear workflows can look like in a project management tool. You can use any one that you prefer, whether you're using ClickUp or you're currently using another tool, but I hope that these visuals will give you an idea of an efficient workflow. So I'll show you a couple different ones in different categories. The one that I'm looking at right here is just a standard project management process. So this is actually our free project management template. I'll make sure it's linked in the description below, where you can see this is a basically start to finish project, whether this is a client project, whether this is an internal project. If you have a larger project that has different team members, different phases, a bunch of different tasks involved, you want to make sure that you map this out very clearly from start to finish. So in here, you'll see the different phases, you'll see different tasks, assignees, start dates, due dates. You can see the different statuses that these go through. And just having it all mapped out in a clear plan gives everyone direction and clarity. Not only is this going to be so helpful, but then you can create a template. So every single time that you have this same type of project, whether it's an internal project or a client project, you can just upload the template and the click of a button, you have everything mapped out for the entire project. So this is an example of, a standard project. You can also see in Gantt view with all of the dependencies, how when you push one thing forward, there we go. How you push one thing forward and it moves the rest of the project forward, right? So you want your project management tool to be doing the heavy lifting for you and making sure that it's moving things along how they need to be. Then you could see things in calendar view, etc. The list goes on. We have so many different resources on our channel, but here's just start to finish project. Now let's go on to more of like an ongoing flow. So now I want to go through a workflow that is ongoing instead of start to finish. So here is where we have our ClickUp client management template. This is available in our shop and our ClickUp template vault. And here's where, say you have ongoing client management services and deliverables for a client, you can see that this is more like you can add a task and then it can follow the same process. In progress, internal review, approved, sent to client, awaiting client review, needs edits, client delay, etc. Right? Now you can have this where you're entering these tasks, or you have recurring tasks as well. And this is for clients, but you can also have the same thing in terms of internal workflows. Let's talk about, marketing as an example. If I come to our Instagram list, this is more of like a pipeline feel where every single task is a piece of content, and then it goes through the pipeline of ready to create, in progress, ready for review, needs edits, ready to schedule, scheduled, publish, complete. So every single deliverable, every single task, every single item that is going on within your company, whether it's related to client processes, internal, marketing, should be tracked, not only for your team so they can see visibility into this, but also for management so they can see what's going on without feeling like they have to micromanage and be constantly asking the team for updates. This brings me into my next point, which is the fix for broken systems that don't scale, which is automating the repetitive. If you are still manually assigning tasks, tracking client progress, sending follow-ups, you are losing hours upon hours every week on work that could be automated. So this is where we want to demand more of our systems than our team and use the project management tool to its capacity that we're actually paying for. Let me show you an example of this in this Instagram pipeline. So you want to make sure that every single time you have a process in your company, if it's repeatable, that you map it out clear as day, and then you automate as much as possible. So for our Instagram process, as an example, there are multiple team members involved. We have one team member creating the copy, another creating the design, another scheduling the post, I'm reviewing them and giving my final approval, and then it's getting published via a scheduler. So you can create automations that every time it hits a new stage, it's assigning the person next in line with a due date. So you don't have to have the brain space to think, okay, who does this go to next? When should I assign it to them, right? You can see that things can start in an idea. Then, once it goes to ready to create, it can assign the person that's next in line with a due date. Say you want it to be a few days later. Great. Once that team member does their job and moves it to ready for review, it will then reassign me with a due date of 1 day later, and the list goes on. So as you can see, you want to create automations. Some of these are not mind-blowing. They're very simple, but they compound over time and will save you hours upon hours every week. You can also even automate things like client follow-ups and send emails through ClickUp. So if I go back to the client management template, you can see that we have a custom field in here that's client follow-ups, follow-up number 1 sent 3 days, 2 sent, no response. And these can either be automated reminders for your team member to actually send them, say it's via Slack or email, or you can send emails natively within ClickUp and have those things automated. So here, let me show you real quick. If you come into the task section in email, you can email directly within ClickUp. So that is on automating repetitive tasks, saving you and your team not only time, but valuable brain space, which we want to make sure you are using for only the things that you need to be. So then the last key fix is standardizing client deliverables. So high-performing agencies use templates, they use SOPs, and they use repeatable workflows to deliver consistent results every single time. So just like you saw in the examples here, create a process for all the deliverables. Who touches what? What are the standards for, say you're a marketing agency, what are the standards for a blog post? What has to be done? What are the different key pieces that we need in that blog post in terms of, the SEO title, description, keywords? how long it is, how many backlinks it has. Having these things mapped out and clear as day in a project management tool using templates and SOPs is going to standardize client deliverables, making it the highest quality possible, as well as giving your team clear direction. The other key piece of this is also having somewhere where you can store all of these training and templates for your team. We recommend having a resources and training space in your project management tool. And here you can see this SOP library where you can have the direct instructions for the team member on how to do every single thing within your company. Now, this is, yes, going to be a process to set up, but once it's in here, again, save you hours upon hours every week. You don't have to repeat yourself. You can have all the SOPs and trainings in one place for your team to go back to and reference whenever they need. So this is also a free template that we have in our shop. I'll make sure it's linked below. The second silent killer of agency growth is leadership bottlenecks that stall progress. Yes, there are many times that it falls on a leader. I say that as a leader and CEO because one of the biggest mistakes that agency owners make is staying too involved in the day-to-day operations. In order to grow and scale your agency, you have to step back. You have to trust your team. You have to give them ownership and make things super clear. So at some point, your agency's growth is going to exceed the ability to manage everything, and that's the harsh reality. If decisions constantly require your approval, projects are ultimately going to slow down, and your team is going to become dependent on you instead of empowered to lead. It goes from, training team members and managers to leaders as you continue to grow and expand. So here are some common bottlenecks that you want to be aware of, and then I'm going to go through the fixes. So number one is everything running through the CEO or leadership team, right? Every single decision is dependent on someone reviewing instead of giving key team members that autonomy and ownership of these specific things. Now, I also want to say, you don't just want to give people the ownership right away. They have to prove themselves and you have to create the process. But you want to set up your company in a way that is going to give them that ownership once they prove themselves and you have that proven process. The next thing is project approvals, slowing things down. So when team members are constantly waiting for sign-off, projects may drag unnecessarily. Now, that being said, again, there are definitely places where sign-off is still necessary, but if you have key standards mapped out, there may be places that this can be completely removed. And then lastly is no key ownership of business functions. So if no one owns specific KPIs, service delivery, or team management, the CEO is going to be stuck doing it all. And we do not want that because the CEO has bigger and better things to do than being stuck in delivery. So all that being said, let's go through the 3 key fixes here. The first fix is making sure there is a clear delegation process in ClickUp. So we want to create a clear structure for who's responsible for what, so your team knows when they can act without waiting for approval. And the easiest example is to bring you right back to where we were, whether you're in, an internal process or you're in a client management process. The key piece is knowing who's responsible for what at each stage. So I also recommend using some sort of flow chart, whether you use a tool like Miro or ClickUp whiteboards, to also map out your processes visually before coming in and building them in ClickUp, right? So in here, you'll see that, okay, when we're working on a client project, when it goes to internal review, who's responsible? Is it the project manager? Is it the COO? Once it's approved, then they can send it to the client. If we're in marketing, once something goes to review or ready to schedule, etc., what are those standards? Now, like I mentioned before, there may be key things, right, where, let me use our company as an example. In our ClickUp projects that we're working with clients, we have a few different team members involved in the projects. If there is something that our project manager knows the answer to or can quickly find out, whether it's with AI, a quick Google search, or reaching out to ClickUp support, she is going to take the initiative and she's going to try and figure out that question on her own. She's only going to come to the technicians if she is stuck, right? We also don't want her wasting her time if the team members can answer that quickly. But she doesn't need to come to me for every single client question that arises because she has the autonomy to be able to find the solution and then learn all these ClickUp FAQs at the same time. So when you have a clear process mapped out and clear standards of who's responsible for what and when are the instances to go to the higher up, it's going to make everyone's life so much easier, especially when you use automations to just do it with the click of a button. Okay, so fix number 2 is shifting to dashboard-driven leadership. Instead of constantly checking in on the team and micromanaging, set up ClickUp dashboards to monitor performance, so you only have to step in when necessary. So I'm going to show you an example management dashboard, an example CEO dashboard. So here in the COO/manager dashboard, you can see, what is the task breakdown by assignee? Clearly, Christy and Jefferson have the bulk of the tasks here, so how can we split that up? What is overdue? You can also have specific KPIs for specific things, client project overviews, total time and status, etc. You can add different cards to see insights into your workspace without asking people directly, hey, what's the status on this, right? So you're able to see, okay, so-and-so is behind on all of these things, right? Why is that? How many tasks do they have overdue? Whereas when you come into the project management template, for example, if you want to check on the specific status of one project, you can come to the list itself and be like, cool, everything looks good, looks like it's on track, there's no red, nothing's overdue. Whereas if you come in, you see a ton of red, you can then check in with the project manager or the key team members involved, but only when it's necessary. Instead of feeling like I have to reach out to this team member to get an update on a project, you can just come right to the list and see exactly what's going on in real time. Same thing with the CEO dashboard. Here you can check, in on your goals. How are the company goals going and KPIs? What are the revenue stats looking like? Again, what are the tasks by assignee? What's been completed? So with ClickUp dashboards, they're so powerful because you can just pull in the information you want to see and make it extremely visual. And the third fix is building client self-service systems. So reducing the back and forth, you can set up different things like FAQ databases, automating client updates, and just having clear reporting structures. So here, let me show you, you can see we do have an FAQ template in resources and training. So whether you have this just internally for your team or you actually share this with your clients, you can have basic FAQs so they feel confident and like, okay, I have a question, let me check the FAQ resources. Or if I go back to the client management template, say that you want to have a place where they can actually see insight into how the project is going. Well, you can have a dashboard for them, you can have a client view for them where they can get insight into the project and see, okay, what's going on, what's upcoming in the pipeline, is there anything overdue, when can I expect deliverables from them? So setting up these resources will give them peace of mind that they can always come and get a project update. Now, on that note, you can also have a specific client view where you're just showing them specific things. Maybe you don't want them to see like who's doing what, but you want to see when that due date is. Maybe you don't want to show certain statuses, etc. You can make this your own and just show them what you want them to see. So that is the walkthrough of the second silent killer of leadership bottlenecks that stall progress. Let's wrap up with number 3. So the third and last silent killer is no system for tracking goals and performance. Without a structured and clear way to set and track goals, it's going to be impossible to know if your agency is actually improving. Yes, you can look at revenue and team growth and things like that, but if you don't have a clear target, not only for you, but your team members, you're just kind of going in blindly, hoping that the work that you're doing is going to pay off. So a lot of agencies with this specific problem are setting broad and vague goals without clear action steps. They're tracking their KPIs in spreadsheets that nobody checks after Q1, and they're not assigning ownership or accountability to any of these key growth initiatives. So if nobody's tracking progress, they don't know who's responsible for what, goals are quickly going to become forgotten, and your agency growth is going to be stagnant. Great news is, I have some fixes for you and some tangible examples. Now, we also have an entire video on our channel going through these examples and, growth and KPIs, tips and tricks. So feel free to check that out. Make sure to subscribe to our channel because we talk about this often, because it is so, so crucial. So the first fix is going to be setting clear goals in your project management tool. I'm going to show you this example in our favorite ClickUp. Surprise, surprise. And also, of course, this is a template available in our shop and our vault if you just want to plug and play your way to success. So here you can see we have one yearly goal tracker. We have task type of goal. We then break this down into key results and then action items. So you can see, okay, if our main goal for Q2 is to expand our agency's online presence, well, we're going to do that by growing our social media following by 50%, publishing 12 guest articles or podcast interviews, and increasing website traffic. Well, how are we going to actually do those things? We're going to develop and implement a consistent posting schedule, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see how this brings so much clarity to you and your team without just being like, we're going to expand our agency's online presence. Okay, great team, let's go. No, we're going to give them clear action items and responsibilities so we can see, okay, if we did these things, we will accomplish this goal. And if we did those things and didn't accomplish the goal, why? Now we can dig deeper into this. So the next key fix for no systems for tracking goals and performance is not only to have a way to track goals and KPIs, but also to have regular check-in meetings. So this is going to depend on the size of your team and the cadence that makes sense for you. But just like any other system, if you don't have those regular check-ins scheduled, it's very easy for things to just fall through the cracks. So what I recommend is in ClickUp having a place that, you either have weekly, monthly, quarterly check-ins with your team. I would recommend, a bi-weekly or monthly check-in at minimum, because if you are setting quarterly goals, it is important to have those key markers throughout the quarter of, hey, are we on track to meet these goals, instead of at the end of the month just being like, okay, did we hit them, yes or no? So I would recommend having somewhere in ClickUp, say it's like, in your operational tasks, where you have some sort of task, whether it's with you and your leadership or with you and that specific team member, to say, let's have our KPI check-in. And this can be scheduled as recurring. So you can say, okay, this is going to be on the first of every month, and it's going to be monthly. And you have you and your team assigned to this. So you make sure that you have it on the calendar that you're actually going to check in on your goals. And then lastly, kind of goes along with that, is just automating accountability. So assigning these recurring tasks in ClickUp, making sure that you're checking in on these tasks, having these goals actually assigned and KPIs actually assigned to your team members, so that you're making sure that you have the accountability there and things aren't just going to slip through the cracks. So that wraps up the third silent killer of no system for tracking goals and performance. I hope this video was helpful, giving you tangible examples and tips for making sure that you have these things set up in your agency so you and your team are set up for success and you have a plan to scale and grow your agency with ease. And that's a wrap. You now know what the 3 biggest silent killers are in your agency growth and how to tackle them before they spiral out of control. If your agency is growing fast, but you feel like your back end is falling apart, now you may have a clearer picture of why. The good news is we would love to help you. We specialize in helping agencies like yours eliminate bottlenecks so they can start scaling efficiently without breaking their business. So book a call with us today and let's build a scalable and efficient agency together. And lastly, if you found this video helpful, please make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and make sure to hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on any other agency and systems tips and tricks. Also, feel free to drop a comment below and let us know what your favorite part of this video was, whether it was an eye-opening silent killer or the tangible steps in ClickUp to avoid it. I love knowing what really hits home so I can make sure that we're creating content that really helps you scale. With that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.